Hello everybody and welcome to Painting with Merri. Today we're going to make this pretty bird and landscape painting, and it shouldn't take too long. It's a pretty simple painting. It's based on a photograph that I took in the Charlottesville area. So the first thing we'll do is the sky, and you can use your imagination with the sky colors. You don't need to make yours look just like mine. But I'll be using a dark blue, some lavender, some orange, and a little bit of yellow in the sky, and then some lavender and orange to do the water. Then I'll come in with purple and put some trees in here and some trees up here. Uh, Add a little shadow, a little reflection of these trees in the water. And then we'll put our heron and our trees in the front with dark purple. So I'll show you the paint that I have on my palette. I'll use 3 brushes. This is a fairly large canvas, so I'll use a good sized brush to do the sky and the water, and then smaller brushes to do the details on the heron, the trees, and the background trees. So I'm glad that you're with me today. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I think we'll have a lot of fun doing our sunset heron painting together. All right, let's get started. So I'll just quickly show you my palette. I have purple, some bright yellow. This is a light cadmium red, but whatever kind of orange you have is fine. Lavender and a phthalo blue. Again, any kind of dark blue will do. And the first thing I'm going to be doing is putting the colors up on the canvas here for the sky. Sorry when I step in front of the camera. I apologize for that. So I've got my nice big brush here, and my brush is slightly wet. I'm going to use this big fat one to start to put the sky in. And I'll get some of that phthalo blue. Got that on my brush, and then I'm just going to start to brush it on the canvas here. I'm going to use sort of a crisscross kind of stroke to get this on. Hopefully you can see that okay. Really, any way you want to put the paint on is fine. And again, any colors you want to use. This painting is very flexible, so we won't need to have just a particular color on there. We can use whatever colors that we want. But if you want it to look something like mine, then I would recommend the dark blue and then some lavender. So I've got a little lavender too. I'm going to add that in here, and that starts to give the idea of the sunset colors here. And I'm just brushing that in. I like to paint my sides too, so I'm doing those as we go along. And now I'm just going to brush those across and kind of let that color just all blend together. Go. And of course, we're going to get a little bit lighter as we go further down. You know what I forgot to put on my canvas? I forgot to put any white on there. So let me get just a little tad of white. Again, I apologize for getting my head in front of the camera. So I'm going to put a little bit of this on too, and sort of mix that in so we get a little bit lighter as we go down the canvas. There we go. All right. So now I've got that, and I'll just go back to adding in this little bit of lighter color here. And the great thing about me being on the video is I'm not going too fast. You can stop me whenever you want to. You can watch the video more than one time, which is really cool. So, great idea on the part of Janet and Mary and Bernard and all my friends in the activities department there at the Hermitage of Northern Virginia. So, getting that nice color. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of the orange now. I've got that on my brush. Technically speaking, it's light cadmium red, but honestly, doesn't that look orange to you? And we're just going to add that in. And again, we'll make sure we get our sides up a little bit there. And let's add a little bit more of our orange over here. Ooh, that's getting really intense, isn't it? Very intense sunset kind of color. There we go. And just keep brushing that in. And add a little bit of yellow. Now you know how in a sunset you get a bit more very bright yellow where the sun is actually located in the sky. So we're going to say that that's our sun right there. And we'll just add a little bit of yellow and maybe put some orange down below it. And we'll keep going across there and just sort of even that up. It's hard for me to see when I'm painting from the side if I'm getting that good and even, but hopefully I am. And look how easy that was. So now we've got our sky. We've got kind of the idea of a sunset. So let's take some lavender and we'll use lavender and orange and get our water in down here. Still got my big brush. I haven't washed my brush yet. And I'm just going to start brushing this lavender in all along the horizon line here. I don't really want white showing there, so I'm making sure I do that pretty carefully. There we go. And just brush that back and forth. Now I want these sort of lines to be in here in the water. So I'm actually using the edge of my brush now. And I'll sort of let that go back and forth. And you can start to see the orange come in there. I'll put just a little bit more here of the orange. Ooh, that's pretty. I like that. It always makes me feel good to paint with these bright colors. I'm hoping that you're enjoying that too. And we're just going to keep going right on across there. Let me pick this up a little so we can get the bottom in. We don't really have to do this left-hand corner because we're going to be using our dark purple over there. And I'll hold this up so you can see how I've left those marks in just to give the feeling of ripples in the water. There we go. So that's how it's looking now. We've got a nice basis for adding our island of trees over here, and then of course our land over here, which will be the dark purple, our trees coming down, and then our final thing will be putting our cute little heron bird in. All right, I'm going to change brushes now for just a moment. And I'm going to go with a smaller brush. Sort of my favorite brush. I love to use it for trees. So it's about this size. And I'll get just a little bit of yellow on here. And just give the idea that that sun is reflecting in the water there. And this lavender paint is still just a little bit wet, so we may have to come back and add a little bit more of the yellow in once our lavender has dried. But it gives you the idea there. There we go. Okay. So now I've got my purple dioxazine. That's a huge word, isn't it? So it's dioxazine purple. Unless I'm saying that wrong, there may be scientists among us at the Hermitage, and I might not be quite getting that word in right. Make sure that I get this. There we go. All right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do to get this a sort of island area in is just to take the dark purple and just create a little horizon line for myself all the way across there. And I'll tidy that up by putting my head in front of you. I apologize for that. So that kind of gives us the idea of where our land is going to be over on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, we can just start to create the idea of this little area that juts out into the water where we're going to have our big trees that go up into the sky. So we'll just sort of give ourselves a little bit of an outline here. And this is also going to be where our pretty little heron stands. I'm just letting that jut out. And however you do that is fine. It's nice to get kind of a little point on it here, but not absolutely necessary. There we go. Just the idea there. We don't have to go ahead and do that right now. We're going to concentrate on this area. So I'm going to create the idea of maybe a little bit of a hill here where our trees can live. And I'm just going right over the top of that orange that we put in, that pretty orange. And if your orange isn't dry and it blends in with the purple, that's absolutely fine. That's not going to cause any problem at all. And however you want to do this is absolutely fine, but we just want to create the idea of a little bit of a slope there. And now I'm going to maybe put a few sort of bush-like things in here. We're going to switch to the lavender shortly because we want this to look like that some of the bushes and trees are a little further away in the distance. So let me pick up a little bit of lavender too and kind of add that in. We do want our orange to peek through a little there, so it doesn't have to be a real solid kind of tree or bush combination that we put in. We can let some of the orange peek through there. And there's no precision to this. We're just tapping it in, so however that ends up looking, it's not going to distract in any way from how the finished painting turns out. I'm adding just a little bit more purple in here and bringing that across. Go back to my lavender and maybe add with the lavender and the purple a little larger sort of bushy kind of tree area back here. And again, apologize for my head. All right, so now we've got the idea of this treed area over here, and I'm going to start to add some taller deciduous trees back there. You see how quick this is? Doesn't this go quickly? So we'll add just wherever you want them. You're in charge of these trees and they're your trees. Wherever you want to put them is absolutely fine. I always start out by putting the trunks in first, but however you want to do that, absolutely fine. You do have to make sure your brush stays moist. You don't want to be getting the paint too dry as you try to create these lines of the trees. And try to be very delicate. You see how I'm just barely touching these? Very delicate. There's a nice one here. Let's put another one right here. You put them wherever you want though. You can have as many or as few as you would like. I love this combination of the purple and the blue and the orange. Just very delicately touching there. Right down. Get ourselves another big one there. And now let's do a very large one. I'll pull that one down to the front. And we'll let that dry, maybe come back over it with a little bit of the darker purple. And let's give it some nice graceful limbs here. And no limb attaches to the tree except by a nice graceful curve. So we want to make sure that we do that for our limbs. Give them a nice graceful curve as we attach them. So we've got a nice big one in there, and we'll put one more back here.